In a small, tranquil village surrounded by vast rice fields and rolling hills, lived an elderly man named Lolo Ben. His face, lined with the wrinkles of time, spoke of a life filled with hard work and endurance. Though age had slowed his steps and his hair had turned silver, his heart remained steadfast, driven by one purpose: his beloved grandson, Daniel. Lolo Ben had taken care of Daniel since he was a little boy, after a tragic accident claimed the lives of his parents. The bond between grandfather and grandson was strong, forged through years of shared stories, laughter, and dreams. Lolo Ben's deepest wish was to see Daniel succeed, to rise above the poverty that had shadowed their family for as long as he could remember. Despite his age, Lolo Ben worked tirelessly every day. He would rise before dawn to tend to their small plot of land, planting and harvesting crops that barely provided enough to live on. When he wasn't in the fields, he took on various odd jobs around the village, repairing fences, mending roofs, chopping wood, whatever he could do to earn a little more money. Every peso he earned was saved, all with the hope that one day Daniel would go to college and build a better life for himself. Daniel was a bright boy with a sharp mind. He excelled in school, and his teachers often praised him for his intelligence and hard work. Each time someone spoke of Daniel's potential, Lolo Ben's heart swelled with pride. He dreamed of the day when Daniel would graduate and become a professional, finally breaking the cycle of poverty that had trapped their family for generations. As Daniel grew older, however, he began to change. He started to drift away from his studies, spending more and more time with a group of friends who were known for their bad influence. These friends introduced him to the world of vices, drinking, gambling, and staying out late. They filled his head with the idea that school was a waste of time and that life was meant to be lived in the moment. Lolo Ben noticed these changes in Daniel and grew increasingly worried. He tried to talk to his grandson, to remind him of their shared dreams and the sacrifices he had made, but Daniel would always dismiss him. "Don't worry, Lolo," Daniel would say with a forced smile. "I know what I'm doing." But Lolo Ben knew better. He saw the path Daniel was heading down, and it broke his heart. Daniel's grades began to slip, and soon he was barely passing his classes. He skipped school frequently, preferring to hang out with his friends and engage in activities that led him further astray. Lolo Ben's heart ached with a sorrow he could not express. He had spent his entire life working for Daniel's future, and now it seemed to be slipping away. But no matter how much he tried to intervene, Daniel seemed determined to follow his own path. One evening, Daniel came home late, the smell of alcohol clinging to his clothes. His eyes were glazed, and his words slurred. Lolo Ben, sitting by the door, looked up at his grandson with a mix of sadness and desperation. "Daniel," he said softly, his voice trembling, "I don't have much time left. I've worked hard all these years so you could have a better life. Please don't throw it all away." But Daniel, caught up in his youthful arrogance, just laughed it off. "Lolo, you're worrying too much. I'll be fine." Tears welled up in Lolo Ben's eyes, but he didn't say anything more. He simply nodded and watched as Daniel stumbled into his room, the door closing behind him with a hollow thud. Time passed, and Daniel's distance from his studies grew. Eventually, he dropped out of school entirely, choosing instead to spend his days with his friends, indulging in the vices that had consumed his life. Lolo Ben, too old and too tired to fight anymore, could only watch in silence as his dreams for Daniel crumbled. As the years went by, Lolo Ben's health deteriorated. The hard work and long hours had taken a toll on his frail body, and he grew weaker with each passing day. Yet, even in his final moments, his thoughts were always of Daniel. He worried about what would happen to his grandson when he was gone, about the uncertain future that now seemed inevitable. One cold winter night, with the wind howling outside their small, worn-down home, Lolo Ben passed away quietly in his sleep. He died alone, without anyone by his side. When Daniel found him the next morning, the realization of what had happened hit him like a tidal wave, leaving him breathless with grief. For the first time in years, Daniel felt the full weight of his actions. He had squandered the opportunities his grandfather had worked so hard to provide, wasting the sacrifices that had been made for him. And now it was too late. The man who had loved him unconditionally, who had given everything for him, was gone. Daniel wept uncontrollably, his tears soaking the thin blanket that covered Lolo Ben's still body. He cried for the time he had wasted, for the dreams he had destroyed, for the words he had left unsaid. He cried for the man who had believed in him, even when he had lost faith in himself. In the days that followed, Daniel was haunted by memories of his grandfather. He remembered the stories Lolo Ben used to tell him, the meals they had shared, the way his grandfather's eyes would light up whenever he talked about Daniel's future. And he remembered the last words Lolo Ben had spoken to him, words that now echoed in his mind with painful clarity. "I don't have much time left. I've worked hard all these years so you could have a better life. Please don't throw it all away." But it was too late. Lolo Ben was gone, and Daniel would never have the chance to make things right. The sound of unspoken regrets filled the silence of their home, a silence that would never be broken. Daniel knew that he couldn't change the past, but he vowed to honor his grandfather's memory by turning his life around. He quit drinking, left his old friends behind, and found a job. He started saving money just as Lolo Ben had taught him, and he enrolled in night classes to finish his education. Every day, he carried the memory of his grandfather with him, using it as a source of strength and motivation. But no matter how much he achieved, no matter how hard he worked, the pain of losing Lolo Ben never faded. It was a constant reminder of the cost of his mistakes, of the opportunities he had wasted. It was a reminder that some things, once lost, can never be regained. Moral lesson. This story teaches us the importance of appreciating the sacrifices made by those who care for us. Life is short, and the opportunities we are given should not be taken for granted. Regret is a heavy burden to carry, especially when it's too late to make amends. We must value our loved ones, honor their sacrifices, and strive to live up to their hopes and dreams before it's too late.